our seated position to begin. Good, okay. Yeah, it looks like everybody's ready here. Do feel free, as per usual in my classes, I always have that folded blanket or a cushion nearby in case when you're sitting down on the floor, it feels like you could use a little bit of a lift underneath your seat to get a bit higher. Great, okay, so as we begin our class, we'll do a little bit of light shoulder rolling and neck stretching. So let's start with the shoulders, going into that circle around. Get some moving here that's gentle to get the body feeling warmed up a bit. Good, okay, let's loop around one more. Let the shoulders settle down, sitting posture is tall, and we lean our head over to one side. And from here we could choose to go side to side with a gentle lean. And some people might like to go into that roll through to the front. So letting the head come down and around to the side. Just, you'll know if that feels safe or not through your neck. Good. I'm going to just go around, maybe one more here. And I'm bringing the head back up. Good. Okay, let's take the arms into a reach. Bring them up and a little quarter turn, doesn't matter which way. And then from there, the hands come down. So you're slightly rotated through your body's posture. Let's breathe in as we reach up, turn the other direction, and then hands come down. So as you go through this, breathing in and exhaling, you could also bring your hand to the knee and sort of help and assist a little. Good. Breathe in with that reach. Turn, exhale down. So the idea is to get that bit of rotation going, and you get to decide how much you're turning the body there. Let's do one more each way. Great, finish with the inhale, come back to the front. Excellent, bring the hands down and interlace the fingers, press forward. Get a little bit of upper back rounding going, chin down, press and give it a little hold here. And then we'll travel this upright. So sitting tall, bring the arms with you to reach up to the ceiling. Lengthen through the sides there for a moment. And then bring the hands down and push the palms away from you this time, pressing forward into that rounded back position again. Open up across the shoulder blades. We travel it up again, this time palms facing up. Let's reach it up. Give it a little stretch this way. There we go, and then release that down. Very good. Okay, let's switch the leg position so that we have the feet in front of us here, a bit of space, hands behind you, any which way, and that windshield wiper, getting the legs swaying here. Little light movement. There, that's it. Good. There we go. Let's bring the legs into neutral position forward. You could have a little reach, lean towards those legs with bent knees specifically here. And as you bring yourself out of that lean forward, hands behind you, I usually have the fingertips pointing forward, if you can handle that with the wrists, and a lift through the chest here. So you're pushing down into the hands, Open up across the front of the chest, a gentle look up. Good, and we release. Okay. Give those wrists a little bit of a shake, and we're going to move on to the hands and knees right away here. Get ourselves arranged into tabletop position. And doing this at your own pace, get enough flow of that cat-cow stretch going through the spine. So up and down. You can add the breath to it if you wish. Just having a couple moments to yourself to get that spine feeling a bit more mobile. A lot of times, if you do these classes with me a lot, you'll know there's these variations in the cat-cow stretching that you can do too, like little shifts forward and back, or side to side. And anytime I say it's freestyle time, you just go ahead and add any little movements that feel helpful for you. I'm just getting these last couple. That's it. And from your cat-cow stretches, we'll sit the hips back now. Bring it back to the heels, or as close to the heels as you can get with the hips. And we're going to take the arms into a stretch forward. We're not all the way down. I want to walk the hands over to the left. So stretch it over to the left. Maybe bend that left elbow so you can support your body weight. And then the right arm or the hand reaches a little extra forward. And hopefully you're noticing that stretch down that right side of the body a bit more. Great, let's switch it over now. Keep the hips back and walk it over to the right. If you liked that support, bend that right elbow, and the left arm is the one stretching long. There we go. Walk it into center. Return a little bit more lifted through this position and walk those knees under you. We're rising up from there. If you need to pad your knees, go ahead. This is a moment to, before class we were talking a lot about our low backs and our alignment posture through there. So have a little checking in with whether or not it feels a neutral alignment through your low back space. So we could have sometimes the exaggerated one would look like that really big arch, or it could look too flat. See if you can find that neutral. Hands go onto your hips and the elbows point back here. And we're having a little opportunity to open up through the front body here. So just a subtle lean back. We're not going for anything big. And do feel free to come in and out of it, okay? Don't necessarily hold it, especially if it feels a little sensitive or vulnerable. That's the idea. Looks good. To whatever degree you can. I'm simply doing one more. And from that back arch, I land my hands to the ground. Toes are tucking under, and I'm getting ready for a downward dog. So right away, getting those knees up, lifting up into the hips. Coming into this in a gentle way, your first one of the class. Perhaps you need a little bit of warming up with it, with bent knees or heels lifted. Maybe those heels want to do the alternate press again. One of our goals in downward dog, a nice little review here, is that we're always trying to achieve our body's movement to shift backwards more. So there's equal weight on the hands and feet. A lot of time we're really top heavy. Our body's forward and the weight's all in the hands. We want to shift it back. And what that really feels like is that the rib cage or the chest moves more towards your thighs, and the tailbone and the sit bones tilt up. Good. Okay, that's feeling good. Let's come to standing from there. You could kneel or step your feet forward. We'll rise up. Give it a little wiggle out. We're going to come front facing so you can see me. And right away, easy little movement of some standing twists. This is flowy and light. Let that one foot pick up a bit. Okay, let's do our last couple here. There we go. Good. Let that sort of slowly sway out. And we are coming to a neutral stance, and that's usually around the hip distance. Let's take our arms out and up to the reach to the ceiling with that breath in. And then when you bring your hands back down to your sides, you have an option of lifting the heels, so coming into a calf raise, and then settling the feet back to flat as you inhale up. Good. And then exhale down, and maybe a lift of the heels. So if you are trying that lift up with the heels, then steady the eyes somewhere. We want to make sure that we're treating this like a balance pose. Two more times if you're joining me with this. Bring it up, palms together this time. As you exhale, come down with a little knee bend. And we're going to come up to a stand again. So breathe in, reach up. And this time when you do your small little bend, let's do a quarter turn of the body. Just a tiny bit of a rotation, and then stand it up. I'm not looking for anything big here. In fact, if I were to measure this out, when I turn, the elbow of the one goes to the knee, not to the opposite side even, the same side. Does that make sense? Yeah, so it's a little less than you might think. I want to keep this subtle. We'll see this move a little bit bigger later on. Couple more. There we go. Bring it into that last breath and release. Those shoulders are a little tired. Give them a wiggle. We'll go into a new footing of wide stance and turned out. A bit more bending here. So when we do this bend, this is keeping the movement so that it's more through the hips. The knees turn out and we drop straight down with our body and through the hips there. Okay, maybe even do a couple. Just placing your feet and the knees at the right angle for yourself. Let's come back into the bend and bring the arms up. Elbows are bent. There. And now this time when you come out, we'll bring the arms forward. Inhale as we bend. Open, and then exhale, it feels like closing. Good. One more time. Okay, relax the arms, switching our feet so that the right foot points forward and that left foot's turned out. There we go. Let's find our warrior two position. Bend into that knee, and so the left knee's bending. And do feel free to wiggle the feet a little bit more apart if you feel like it needs it. And we're going to alternate a couple moves here. So our reverse warrior, let the right hand drop down, palm turns up with that other hand there, the left, so you're reaching up, opening. This is going to be our breath in. And then when we exhale, we're going to bring it back through warrior two more momentarily and then straighten out the leg and lean into triangle. Good. All right, so let's come together on our breath again. Inhale, bend the knee, reach up. Maybe a little bit of a back bend there. Exhale down. One more on this side. There we go. Come on up and out. And at this moment, if you needed to step in, maybe it felt like it was there in that wide stride for too long, give it a moment. But otherwise, we'll get ourselves setting up for that second side, turning that right foot out and bending into that knee. Landmarking everything through warrior two. Feel good weight into those feet, both sides. Good. When you feel ready, you can join me on reaching that right arm up. Inhaling. And then an exhale, straightening that leg as you lean down. That's it. Bend the knee again as you come up. Yes, and that is that pattern. And everyone seems to be doing it really nicely. So remember, you can take it at your own pace. Whenever you get the flow of it, if you need to go a little faster or slower than me. Oh, we're already here at our last one. There. Good. Okay, let that knee bend again. Lift yourself up. We'll bring it back to neutral stance. Perfect. Okay. I'd like to turn so that we can be moving forward and back on our mat now. Lots of length behind you. And we'll start on the same side. So let's all pick up the right leg and step it back, nice and long into a lunge. Warrior one stance. So we've got that back heel down, foot turned out a little, front knee bent, and both hips pointing forward here. And then our arms are going to come together with a sweep out and up overhead. Palms come together here. And then our elbows are going to bend. We're going to let the hands fall behind the head here. Then stretch those arms back up. And the hands will now travel in front of the body, landing at the center of the chest. And as they do that, let's straighten out that front leg and take a little bow forward here. Just halfway. I'm not looking for a really big depth. Good. Now start to bend that front knee again. Arms come out to the sides. We're inhaling, reaching up, palms together. Exhale, elbow bend. Inhale, reach. And exhale, start to straighten that leg as you bring the hands in front and lean forward. There, nice flat back on this one too. Very good. Inhale, bend the knee, reach it up. Exhale, elbows bend, hands drop back. Inhale, stretch the arms up again. And then exhale as we come forward and down. And let's pause here. See what it feels like to release the arms and check to see how far away you are from the ground. Maybe if you're not touching, bend that front knee a bit now. And get at least those fingertips down. And this is a little stepping or hop step back with that back foot to get more lunged. So we want to get it back further into high lunge there. Keep the right hand down on the ground, and we are opening this through that left arm into a reach up towards the ceiling. Draw that left shoulder back. And on your next exhale, travel that arm down. Do your best to slide or pick up that front foot back. We find our first plank position here. We're not here too long, just enough to landmark everything, and then let the knees travel to the floor. Move the chest a little bit forward and through the arms. Notice how your low back posture is, just, testing that out, what we were talking about. Inhale here. Breathing out, we're lowering down, slow lower, elbows point straight back. Untuck the toes, and let's free our arms to our sides. We're coming up into locust pose, so using the back muscles, we lift up through the chest, both legs, arms lift off the ground. And usually the upper back muscles get a little involved as we draw those shoulder blades together a little bit. Stretch those fingertips back towards the feet. Neck is long. One more breath. Good. As we come down, we can bring those hands down beside us in preparation to help ourselves up. Lift up through the body. Start to shift the hips back, tuck the toes under, and find your downward dog again. Now, of course, anytime we're in downward dog in this class, you could be going into child's pose, which is that kneeling position and down, as an alternative. Now, we're going to get back up to standing. So look forward. Perhaps you can do those big steps with the feet, so one at a time. And a simple lift up from there. There we go. Good. We will get into our lunge back now with the left leg. Make sure you got lots of room to step back. Big step with that left side. Ground down through that foot and heel. Good. Okay, we're ready here. We're in our warrior one stance, and we're going to get our arms moving again. So let's breathe in together and bring the palms up overhead. Exhale, bend the elbows, hands fall behind. Good. Inhale, reach it up. And exhale, hands come in front, but we are straightening that front leg a little as we lean and bow forward. There we go. Let's maybe just get that flow going. Inhale, bend the knee, reach up. Exhale, elbows bend. Good. Inhale it up. And breathe it out for that lean forward. Let's try that 2 more. Inhale. And exhale. Breathe in. And bow. 1 more. And out. Perfect. We bring it into that forward lean, and we allow a little bit more depth this time. Release the hands. And we are making our way down, so the hope is eventually to get those fingertips to touch, and that might require a bend in that front leg. Once you're there, the hop step back, get into a deeper lunge here, and ground that left hand down to the floor. When you're ready, pick up that right hand and reach it, opening up towards the ceiling there. Notice if you're really shrugging those shoulders towards the ears. Roll them down and away from the ears. That back leg here should be really strong. There, okay, as we release, front foot steps back, find your plank. Do feel free to do your lowering from full plank, or you can join me coming to the knees, breathing in at the top of the motion, exhaling to lower to the ground. 1 more of those locust poses, hands free to the sides. You can keep this as small as you need, lifting upper and hopefully lower body at the same time. Really stretch those legs back. You should feel your back muscles on this one. 1 more breath. There we go. Release down, hands beside the chest. Help yourself up. Child's pose or downward dog, your choice. Finding our way there for a couple breaths. So we are going to be getting into a three-legged downward dog from here. I like to sometimes bring my feet in a little bit closer towards one another. I'm going to start with the right leg, and what I'm trying to do is reach that right leg up into the back and stretch it up as high as it wants to go. Good. Have a little moment to hold this. Now, from here, we're bringing that right leg underneath our bodies, tuck that knee in close, and seeing if we can step that foot forward and through between the hands. And just take a little moment to get there. Now, we want to make sure that we feel like our base is stable and steady because we're coming up to a stand from here, okay? So sometimes if your feet are too narrow in line, you need to space them apart. When you're ready, take your time. We're trying to travel up. That's it. We're in our lunge. Good job. And then hands, let's just bring them to the front, palms together. Lean forward from it so that you're creating this nice straight line from heel all the way through to the head. And we're going to turn ourselves towards that bent knee in the front, so to the right. And what you could do here is extend that left arm out and take it to the outside edge of that right knee. And then the right hand just simply comes to your hip. So we're turning and rotating here, using the arms to help rotate the body. Good. And then as we come out of this, I want to make this simple. I'm going to just let the upper body come back down. So hands to floor, step it back, find your plank. Again, from toes or knees, your choice. Inhale at the top. Exhale through chaturanga, lowering to the ground all the way. Untuck the toes. Let's take a cobra this time. Breathe in, lift up through the head and chest. And then exhale, shift the hips back, tuck the toes, and downward dog. Good, okay. We're doing that on the second side now. So getting ready for that three-legged down dog, lifting the left leg up this time. Reach it up. The hip should be fairly square on this. Getting ready for that transition, bringing the left knee under. We shift kind of through plank and then step that foot forward. Adjust your feet. Heel is still lifted in the back. Slowly rise up when you're ready. We kept it really simple. We didn't get into a reach of the arms or anything. We find our lunge. Palms were together in front. From there, we lean forward and turn. So turning to the left this time. So now the right arm could extend out, the outside edge of the knee, left hand to the hip. You can feel that push against the outside edge of that right arm into the edge of the knee there to help rotate more. There we go. Coming out, back to hands to floor, step the foot back, find your plank. Lower the knees if you wish, inhale. Exhale to come down. One more cobra, untuck toes. Inhale, lift up. And as you come back, you could choose a child's pose. Maybe your wrists need a little break. Downward dog is definitely an option. Okay, so we will make our way back to standing one more time here in class. I'm going to make it happen through a downward dog. If you want to just come up, no problem. Little moment to press back, look forward. You could either step or hop those feet. Good, and then bring yourself up there. Good, okay. So this next move can be a little bit challenging. We have done a lot of things in the class to get that rotation going. And we should be pretty warmed up for that. I see most people grabbing a quick little water break. Yeah, the left side pull there, and absolutely. The more air, the better right now. Such a nice warm day. Okay, so what I'm doing right now as I get myself arranged for this is I'm going into a bit more of a narrow stance. You don't have to have your feet completely together. I just find really wide doesn't serve me. And I'm going into chair pose, so sitting the hips back, and in a rotated version of this, so as we were warming up. So what I'm going to try to do right now is bring my right elbow across to the outside edge of that left knee. You might need to really bring your body down and bring those palms together. And then from here, you can stay put, or you could choose to put more weight into your left foot. And as you do that, it's almost like you're getting light on that right foot. And some of us might even feel like we can pick up that right foot. And there is a finishing movement here. You can actually extend that right leg behind you if it is coming up. Now, there's a lot of things to try on with this move. It can be very wobbly to extend that leg back. Yeah, and stay in that position. So you're just playing around with that and come out when you are done with that side. Doesn't need to be a long experience. I know. Yeah, so that's a hard one. I find that a good place to be with that is simply putting more weight onto the one side to begin with and playing around with trying to get a little lift, you know, just simple. We're only doing it once on each side, so let's give that other side a try. Little knee bend again, getting ready for this. The spine stays really long and straight as you start to turn now to the right. So left elbow across to the right knee, palms together. Now, we are putting more weight in the right foot this time. And then you might lift that left heel. And you can just sort of explore, would I be able to get that foot up off the ground? Don't feel like you have to extend that leg back, you know. Perhaps you're willing to give it a little try, but you're just seeing what's happening here. I'm coming up because I fell out. But please, if you need a bit more time with that, I'm checking my Zoom people. Looks like they're playing with that a little still. Good. Okay, yeah, I'll have a quick sip of water and then we'll move on. I didn't think to bring the fan, but it's warm.
If you do it properly, obviously I'm not doing it properly today. Sorry.
No, you're good. It's all good. That was a sneak attack, that last move. Okay, we're cruising though. Back to our top of the mat position there. Let's take a breath in together and reach up. Inhale, sweep those arms up to the ceiling. And as you exhale, let's come in down into our forward fold. Very good. Just have a little moment there. Now I want to step it back into a downward dog. So bend those knees enough that you can find the floor with the hands, step it back, shift it back into that downward dog. And we're going to try to get a little cat-like through the back. So what I do right now is I lift my heels on purpose and tuck the tail under, kind of roll through the spine and shift forward and find my plank. Sometimes I need to adjust my hands a little bit. And then I want to reverse that, so it's like I'm piking or peeking up with the hips, a little bit of a rounded back, and then shifting back into downward dog as the heels lower. And we just try that forward and back a couple times here. Roll through the spine. It feels like a bit of a waving action, not going any lower than plank. Lift it up and roll it back. It's good practice for tucking that tail under if you have that tendency to dip through your back. Good, coming back through. And then one more as I come through into plank. We join each other here. And we lower the knees to the floor. Keep the core strong. And I'm going to choose to try a few push-ups right now. So if you're with me, there's a couple choices. You could go more traditional push-up, a bit wider with the hands and the elbows out to the sides. That tends to be the stronger one. Yoga style would be more like our chaturanga position, which we want to keep the arms quite narrow, and we get those upper arms close to the sides of the body and coming up and down. Now, I'm not saying how low or how many. You're getting to choose this for yourself. and seeing how everything is feeling. Keep the core engaged here. I'm just doing little baby ones, but I'm keeping those arms close to the body here. Yeah. Really feel it in the triceps. And when you're done with your set of push-ups, and honestly, no hurry, come off of your hands for a moment, sit it back. Feel free to take a proper child's pose or just be light about it. Yeah, no hurry, do as many as you need there. I love push-ups because we get our upper body strengthening, but there's also that core element the whole time through. Yes, you can learn to love push-ups too. No. All right, maybe never, right? All righty, back to an elevated position here. So I think our hands need a break. I want to go into an elbow plank next. So I'm bringing the elbows down. Remember what we were talking about before class here. Notice if there's a tendency to be dipped in the back or too rounded. We want to find that neutral. Tummy is tightening or drawing it a little bit here. Doesn't matter if you want to stay at the knee level, you would just step the knees back for kneeling plank, or you could be stretching those legs out and getting the toes tucked under into full plank here. Now what I'm doing on this is sort of like a lifting of the hips up and down. It's like I push down purposely through the toes and I lift the bum up and kind of, you might feel a little rounded in the upper back, and then I come down to level again. See if you can try that up and down action a few times. And hopefully you're feeling the core. It does feel like your toes are working out a little bit here. You have to press down into the toes. Yeah. Yeah, I do feel a little bit of that roundedness, almost cat-like shape when I lift the hips up. I'm doing one last one. And then your break could be child's pose, or if it felt better to do a back arch, you could come down onto the ground here on your front with the back arching lightly. So whatever feels better for you. Hopefully you found you could connect to the core muscles on that one. How did you find it? Okay? Good. Okay, let's see here. To get into our next one, we have to lie on our sides. And I just noticed, like I'm on hardwood, people at home might have more carpet underneath them or padding. But I need to be on my elbow here. So if you're finding that it's getting a little bit sensitive, you can put that blanket under it, or if your mat folds, you could have a bit more padding that way. This is a side plank. It can be challenging. I'm going to keep it at the knee level though. So I have my knees bent, and I'm going to try to get the hips up. So it feels like I press down into the outer edge of that bottom knee, and I bring my hips forward too. I don't want my hips way back. I want to be fairly straight. That top leg could stretch out. Now, this next part is optional. You don't have to do this part, but you could do some lifting of the leg while you hold this. It depends on how well you're holding your side plank. I think the more important piece to this move is that we're keeping our hips lifted and not dipping down. And if it's just tired, that's fine, take a break, but we want them up. That's it. Yeah, so we feel lots of body parts working on this one. I was going to count to 10 leg lifts, but totally lost track. Last one for me. Thereabouts, right? Okay, how did we do? I know there's not just the side plank muscles, but all those shoulder arm muscles too, so it can get quite tired. One try of this on the other side now. Starting from the bent knee, I lift up. See if you can extend that top leg. Remember, this is just fine as is. And you can come up and down, taking breaks into the side plank. You don't have to continue with this leg lifting. I'm not worried about big high lifts either. It's just the challenge of the movement, if anything. Anybody notice a difference from one side to the other? Because this side's saying, come on down, I don't want to be here right now. Yeah, last one here. Yeah, that side felt harder for some reason. Oh, well, we did it. Good. Definitely grab a sip of water, anything you need again, no hurry. I'm having a little moment to go into flat lying on my back because I want to do a little bit of bridging after that. We're going to be up and down though, so join me when you're ready, coming on your backs. So tonight we are coming into a bridge on one leg, and we'll start with the one foot crossed over the knee, like that. Now this is a small bridge. We don't want to lift too high on this one. The most important detail is that our hips remain level when we lift. So doing your best, you push down into the ground through that one foot and you lift up, the bum off the floor, and see if you could put your hands on your hips. You can sense if they're level or not that way. That's great, it looks good. Having a little moment to hold this. Now, of course, if this is feeling uncomfortable on your back or something's bugging you, bring the foot down to the floor. Make it a two-legged bridge. Here, I'm going to lower that side. Switch it over right away. And when you are ready, you can try that lift of the hips again. The knee is falling out to the side. Hips are level. There, let that come down. And both feet to the floor. And one last bridge, and this one is 2 feet on the floor, full lift into the bridge if your back is feeling safe to come up that full depth. So what that means is I lift the hips, but I'm also bringing those shoulders underneath my body, so wiggling shoulder blades closer together. And usually from there, you can feel there's a little bit more lift through the chest. Some people get their hands clasped under their back. And if you are getting the hands together, you push down through the pinky side of the hand into the ground to let the chest lift further, chin in, knees stay directly above the ankles. We don't want to feel like the knees are splaying out to the sides. One more breath here. Good, and then start to wiggle those arms free and roll that spine down. And do take a moment to hug those knees in, give that back a little reversing, a little hanging out here moment. And as soon as you feel ready, we'll help ourselves up to sitting again. Just roll it up or to the side. Let's go both legs stretched out for a moment here. And in this position, if it's really difficult for you to sit up with your legs stretched out, you might want to put something underneath your seat for a little lift again. But the other option, if you didn't have something, is just letting the knees have a micro bend there, just subtle. And I will, before I go into a lean forward on this move, I will often do this little wiggle thing where I'm trying to get where I'm sitting on those little bones of the bottom to come back further. Yeah, and hopefully the pelvis can roll forward a touch. If you feel any pain in your low back, bend your knees. And then we start to lean a little, very light. Don't have an agenda about this. Don't worry about reaching the feet or not. If, again, you have any back pain or just you have a history of any, disc problems, you might want to aim for a straighter back instead of that little bit of a rounded posture. If everything's feeling safe, let's stay here for a few breaths. And you're simply noticing how your body settles into this, one breath at a time. There might be that sensation of a little bit of a release or just less intensity around the stretch as you hold longer. Okay, there we go. I'm starting to lift out. Hopefully that was feeling like a good stretch and no problems there. Now, that was a big posterior stretch with the posterior line of the body. Now we're going to do one that reverses it, so it's a stretch through the front part of the body into the thighs. And we do need to return to our knees for this. Now this one here, I'm giving lots of options because not all knee joints like this move. Option number one is to come back up to that high kneeling position. And in this one here, it could just be that same thing we started with earlier, a little leaning back from there, maybe scoop and tuck the tail under. Option two is coming all the way down. So the bottom comes to the heels. And so that's where those knees, not everybody can get to full kneeling. And from the kneeling position, you can lean back a little. So as you're leaning, so if anybody's in this position with me, as you're leaning back, you're listening to your low back, but also those knees and ankles. For those of you who feel it, my thighs are pretty flexible and no problems, you can even lift the hips up off the ground on this one. So that would be your last option here. And just, this would be a great opportunity to check in with how your low back is postured. We've talked a little bit about that. Is it overly arched right now? Is there something you could do to lengthen that out or get it more neutral? Good. And then bring that down. So hopefully you found that there was a little sense of thigh stretching on that one. Yeah, good. There we go. All right, winding down now. Let's go back to laying on our backs. We'll finish up class in that position. Our first thing to do is some windshield wipers here. So let that low back settle and ground and relax as you swish side to side here. Good, okay, from there we'll come back to our neutral position, walk the feet in. We did that crossing of the foot over the knee earlier. Let's do that position again, but this time into a stretch. So now we want to pick up that support leg and bring everything in closer and getting a hold of either that top leg or reaching through to hold that thigh. So for our last few moves here, laying on our back, we are letting things slow down. So as you arrive into whatever shape or posture you're in, you're letting muscles relax and that breath lengthen. Let that foot return to the floor, and we'll get ready for that second side right away. Cross it over and bring it in. Good, okay, we release. And I'd like to go with the feet and knees close together here, and then the knees part open and soles of the feet turn in towards one another. Adjust your hips and back so that it feels neutral and in its ideal posturing for comfort. If this feels a little uncomfortable in the back or the hip or hips, you could do one leg at a time, remember, so one leg would stretch out and the other knee opens. Also, if you have any like arthritis in a hip or something, you could pad underneath the outside edge of the leg. Gives you a bit more support. Choose where you would like your arms. Sometimes I rest my hands on my tummy with this, or you could have your arms at your sides. A third option could be even a reach overhead. We're staying here another 4 breaths or so, just taking your time, settling and releasing, letting gravity help with that opening feel. The knees will come together again. And let's bring the knees in towards the chest here. So just a gentle drawing in or maybe off to the sides a little. And if you like that rocking, let that low back settle again. Good, and we are going to stretch long. Both legs come to the floor. If it feels okay, reach both arms too. Give it a good lengthening out here. For me, this is always a nice way to finish a class. Get that space between each vertebra. Opening up the channels through the spine there. Into the joints, the hips, the shoulders. Good, and when it feels good enough or complete for you, relax those arms back down and space out those legs a little bit. Be comfy here. Any which way that suits you. Let the eyes close for just our last couple moments here in class. Everything starts to feel really easy and soft and relaxed in the body. Little by little, there's a bit more weight you're giving into the ground. You can feel the breaths coming and going and that gentle movement of the body as you breathe. Let the muscles around the jaw and the face and around the eyes relax just a little more yet. And we're moving lightly again. It wasn't a long time to stay rested, just enough to come into that internal space and shift ourselves from our practice. And hopefully have a little bit of peacefulness and calm within there that we can bring back as we return out of our class here and enter into the rest of our night. So as you feel ready, you can come back up to sitting. No hurry. You're welcome to just take a few stretches there. There. Okay, looks like everybody is up. There. All right. So do let me know if you have any questions again. Always trying different moves in this class, so there's lots of things to try on each time. All right, thank you. Thanks for coming out. Namaste.